guys, I'm going to be going through 15 Roblox Bedwars tricks that will save you. Also, subscribe. Now, guys, for the first trick that we have on this list, we have getting high ground on your opponents to deal full damage. Now, this is a very common trick that I and many other pro players use a lot, especially if our opponent is outgearing us. This is a very common tactic that a lot of pro players use if they want to deal a crap ton of damage all in one hit without putting much effort in. Essentially, what this trick involves is getting your opponent up high enough to where they would take substantial fall damage and then knocking them down. Say, for example, if I have no armor at all and my opponent has diamond armor, I can actually use the fall damage to my advantage to consistently knock him down and deal a crap ton of damage. I've actually done this before in one of my videos, and I was able to pull off that exact example that I used where I had no armor and killed a guy that had diamond armor. This guy was stacked out of his mind, and even though he had all the emeralds in the world and had the best advantage in every way, I was still able to beat him with nothing but my blocks and my sword. Anyways, guys, for the next trick that I'm going to be going over is a counter to the good old classic building up, getting high ground, and comboing strategy. Now, this is a very popular strat that a lot of players use, and I have an easy way to counter it. If you're consistently getting comboed by people that just like to build up super high, jump down, and get a crazy combo on you, this is a way you can counter it. Essentially, what you need to do to avoid getting comboed from these guys is to do one of two things. If they're building up and building towards you, what you can actually do is go underneath their bridge. So that way, when they drop down, you're going to have a line of sight of them before they have a line of sight of you. They have to spin 180 degrees just to actually be able to hit you, where you are already anticipating their movement. Another thing that you can do as well is keeping your distance and bowing them back. If they're building up, this gives you an opportunity to bow or get some hits off, because they're going to be way too focused on building up to try and get a combo, and this gives you a perfect opportunity to sneak in and deal some damage to them. And even if they do still jump down and get a slight combo on you, the playing field should be a lot more even, because you did a bit of extra initial damage before the fight even happened. This is a really good way to even out the playing field, and if you're not too great at building and you constantly get built on, this is a really easy strategy to do. Just make sure you're keeping your distance and not getting in those combos. And for the next trick, we have one that is a 500 IQ strategy, and that is using the Gloops to stop your enemies from regenning. Now, I'm sure you guys know what the Gloops do, right? As soon as they stick your opponent, they slow them down and they stop them from using mobility. But I'm sure you guys know that the Gloops actually do one damage. They do one little tiny bit of damage, and we can actually use that to our advantage. If our opponent is running away and they're like super far off, say that they've just teleported and you forgot to gloop them, but they're still in the distance of being glooped. If they're really low, you can actually just throw the gloop in their general direction, and if they get stuck by it, they would have taken one slimmer of damage, which is going to completely stop the regenning cycle, and they're going to stop regenning for a little bit. This gives you some time at least to catch up while your enemy is a lot slower, and it stops them from regenerating health. You can also do this if your opponent has built up really high and you're still trying to catch up. You can just gloop them while they're building up, and even though they're technically not slower while building up, they still won't regen fast enough, and you'll still be able to hopefully get that nice elimination on your opponent. Anyways, guys, this is another 500 IQ trick that I use against my opponents to absolutely destroy them. And that is using the Diamond Guardians to boost you forward. Now, I'm sure you guys know that the Diamond Guardians, you can kill them and then you get some diamonds, but that's not what we're here to talk about. The Diamond Guardians also deal knockback the exact same way a player would, and you can use this to your advantage. Since the Diamond Guardians don't do that much damage, you can almost use it as a free boost. Essentially, you just want to hit the Diamond Guardian, and then as you're rushing your opponents, the Diamond Guardian will smack you and you'll go flying towards your opponents. This is really helpful, especially if you don't have a mobility kit or anything like that. You can almost just use the map as a free mobility kit. And although it is a very situational thing, it's still really useful even when escaping opponents as well. You can use it as almost a shield and a boost as well. Definitely keep it in mind in your next Bedwars game, and let me know if you're able to actually pull it off. off. I've done it a couple times, and I even included in a couple of my videos where I've successfully pulled off exactly this trick. Anyways, guys, you've made it this far into the video, all right? I think you guys deserve to know this, okay? I'm gonna tell you guys a little secret that only you guys can know about, all right? You can't tell anyone else. Anyways, guys, if you have subscribed, you've liked, and you're early to this video, you've watched the whole video all the way through, I'm actually gonna be giving my subscribers a few kits and battle passes, all right? So if you're like these guys and want to get themselves a free kit or battle pass, make sure you're early to this video, you watch the whole video, you like, and you subscribe, and I may potentially slide you guys a few kits, all right? Now, this next trick, guys, may seem pretty obvious, but surprisingly, I actually don't see anyone doing this, and that is using third person to check behind you. Now, you might be saying, oh, I do this all the time. What are you talking about? Well, I actually haven't seen too many people been doing this very often, especially whilst on bridges, because they think they're gonna like fall or something. This is actually really useful to do because there's actually a couple ways you can go about using this trick. You can either use it to get intel on your opponents and see who is behind you or who is bridging towards you or what your opponents are doing. Or you can actually use it to bow enemies and shoot projectiles at them from behind you. Although the one risky thing is you do also risk falling into the void, running straight into nothing and then just going straight into the void, or just running straight into another enemy, which is another massive problem that you definitely want to avoid. So make sure you do make it quick, make it only a couple seconds. Make sure to switch between the two so you get a 360 view of the entire map, and you'll have a lot more intel on your opponents. Anyways, guys, another tip that you guys can actually use is trying to predict when your enemies are going to teleport back to your base. Now, this will go hand in hand with another trick that I'm going to mention later on in the video that may be a direct counter to this. Say, for example, if you rush your enemy's bed and they have for some reason gone to get emeralds, they've completely abandoned the bed, all right? You'll know that they will spend at least a few minutes in middle, getting some emeralds, you know, getting up, thinking they're all smart, getting all those resources and stuff. If you set a mental timer in your mind for a couple minutes, you can almost predict when your enemies are about to teleport back to their bases. And when that enemy from mid eventually does go to home teleport back to his base, you'll be sitting there waiting for him to just basically hand all of those juicy materials on a silver platter just for you. This one is a little bit harder to pull off because it does involve a lot of prediction, and there is a very high probability that the enemies will just see you and not teleport back to their base at all. So you do need to keep in mind with that. Try it out anyways, because there really is no harm in trying. Alrighty, guys, and for the next trick, this involves using the Evelyn kit, all right? And now you can pull off a 500 IQ play with the Evelyn kit, and that is void baiting with the Evelyn kit. Now, this goes hand in hand with completing some of the contracts for the Evelyn kit, because you do actually need to use your dashes in order to complete the contract. And if you deal enough damage to where you get the spirit orb to appear on the screen, you can actually just jump in the void and completely juke your opponents. Your opponents may think you're super silly for jumping in the void, but then you can activate your spirit dash ability and teleport right back up to his base and get an easy combo off of him. This is a good old classic trick that I honestly don't see many people using anymore. And if you do happen to use this nowadays, I can almost guarantee that you'll juke out your opponents and they'll be super confused. Anyways, guys, for the next trick that I'm going to be showcasing is the fake recoil trick. Now, this goes hand in hand with absolutely outplaying your opponents, and it also really helps you get a combo. Say, for example, you've just rushed your opponents and you've taken them out. You got the first kill and you've stole their iron. Now, hopefully you're still like full HP. You've got like a ton of loot on you and stuff. What you can actually do is get high ground or get up somewhere high away from your opponent's spawn and pretend to recoil. Now, instead of your enemy gearing up and trying to play it smart, they're gonna instantly rush you because they want to get you out of the game as soon as possible. They don't want you in their base. So instead of thinking rationally and actually going for loot, they're gonna just instantly rush you whilst you have the gear advantage. This is honestly a really cool trick that you guys can do because it works almost 100% of the time and can be used in so many different situations. You can use it at mid, you can use it in your enemy's bases, you can even use it in your own base. Just pretending to recoil and be distracted is honestly the best way to outplay your opponent because they're not gonna expect you to be prepared and fight back. Anyways, guys, we have one of the hardest tricks that I have on this list, and that is tele-bridging. Now, unlike what a lot of players will tell you, tele-bridging is actually a very useful skill, okay? You can use tele-bridging in a multitude of different ways, like blocking your opponents from crossing a bridge, or getting a really unique high ground retake over your opponents. It is honestly a very good trick to note, especially if you want to get high ground over your opponents, or if you're just trying to build up really quickly. Sure, you won't be able to build up as fast as someone building in a straight line, but if you have just been blocked off by someone, you can tele-bridge in a direction of your choice to get out from being unstuck and to tower over your opponents. This is probably the best use case for tele-bridging, and more people should use it more often. I honestly don't know why people don't use this trick more often. Maybe it is just really hard to do. Basically, you just want to position your mouse in the right direction and then just click as fast as you can. You just want to click super fast like I'm doing right now. Literally just want to butterfly click as fast as you can, and you'll be able to tele-bridge. It's honestly not as hard as people making it out to be. Anyways, guys, for the next trick, this trick is going to involve the Electra kit, all right? And that is Electra dashing into your opponents. Now, this is honestly a trick that I mentioned so many times in my videos. I just had to include it, okay? Because this is a trick that will actually save you. If you double Electra dash into your opponents and do a 180-degree turn, you're gonna absolutely destroy your combos. You're gonna absolutely destroy your opponents 100% of the time. I can almost guarantee that you'll at least get one extra hit off your opponents just by using this strategy. It is honestly such a good strategy for getting combos. It's so efficient that I've actually had to avoid almost every Electra kit because I have a fear of getting absolutely destroyed by them. A good counter to this trick though is actually just getting Gloops, but if it is the start of the game and your opponents don't have Gloops yet, then you have nothing to worry about. You can also just use the Electra kit as well if you want to counter the Electra kit. You can counter the Electra kit with the Electra kit. It sounds really weird, but when they dash, you can just dash as well, and then it'll be like you just swap positions. So just keep it in mind when you have the Electra kit equipped, because it is honestly such an overpowered strategy. Anyways, guys, for the next best strategy, okay, we have jumping in shift lock. Now, this is actually not an original trick that a lot of players use. This trick actually predates Bedwars entirely. This is a trick that a lot of people that are really good at obbies use, and they tend to use shift lock a lot because the Roblox hitboxes and physics are really, really weird. For whatever reason, when you shift lock and jump sideways, the momentum that you get from jumping is just a lot higher and a lot more consistent while being in that position. I don't know, guys. It's honestly really weird, but I did try it out and it is true. My jumps feel so much more consistent. I feel like I can make a lot further jumps and I can wall hop so much easier. I'm not sure what it is about the Roblox physics. It might be because the characters are so wide and fat. So jumping when they're really skinny just gives it like some sort of massive advantage or something. I'm not really sure. But try it out for yourself. It is a really good way to traverse the map and outmaneuver your opponents. If you have the movement advantage over your opponents, then you're going to be guaranteed to win almost every single fight. Anyways, guys, for the next trick, I'm going to be showing you guys how you can kill someone from underneath the map. Now, have you ever got those guys that just love to bridge underneath the map for no reason? It's late game, everyone has emerald armor, and then you just got this one guy who's just completely underneath the map and there's no way to get him. Well, there is actually one counter to this strategy, and that is getting the guards. Now, from memory, the guards only cost like 75 iron or something like that. Honestly, I don't use them too much, so I'm not really sure. They are really cheap though. And you can get them and just place them in the general direction of the guy that is underneath the map. And it will slowly but surely deal enough damage to where they'll just be completely eliminated and taken out of the game. It's a really slow way to do it, but nevertheless, you end up winning the game and the guy under the map is going to be less annoying next time. Anyways, guys, for the next trick, we have increasing the FOV and using a ultra wide monitor. Now, I'm honestly tempted to just put this in a whole separate video because of how overpowered this strategy can be. If you go up on the settings tab and you increase your FOV to 100, you're going to be able to see a lot more on your screen. You're going to be able to see enemies rushing from almost any direction, and then pair that with an ultra wide monitor and you're going to be able to see everything.